So I wanted to talk a little bit about some things that regarding the topic we went over on Sunday and bring in some stuff from the class we've been having on Thursday. Everybody here in the room knows about what we covered on Sunday, I suppose, but a little background for people online who might watch this is we went over a chapter in Open Hearted Life by, that chapter is by Russell Coates, but that book is co-authored with Venerable Children and Russell Coates. So there's chapter 64, and it's about strong emotions coming up and how to pause a minute, slow down, and step back and find the space to not be overpowered by the afflictions that have arisen. One thing that Russell said, something like, not let our good intentions be hijacked by the strong emotion, which I really relate to because I think all of us here, we work at trying to develop compassion, and we don't always live up to that. Things come up and we're overwhelmed by strong emotions. And in our discussion group, mostly people's example was about anger, and so is the one in the book. But this could be any strong emotion. It could be sadness, it could be jealousy, it could be attachment. Just stopping and looking and recognizing the affliction and pausing enough to not have it run us over. And sometimes if we're having a difficulty that involves another person, or even an object that we're frustrated with, sometimes that pause might be long. We might have to just say, I gotta take a breather and step away from this. Or sometimes just a little pause for us to turn our minds can work if we've practiced that. The example in the chapter, the example that Russell gave was an inmate named Andrew who had his cellmate comes in and tries to pick a fight, it sounds like. And Andrew's able to pause a minute and stop and really see that it wasn't all about him, that he hadn't caused this guy to be upset. He'd done nothing to. So he was able to stop the anger and not be overrun by it. But I see two stages here, because it says in the story there that Russell relayed in the book, is that later Andrew was talking to a friend who knew that about his cellmate and said that guy has some mental issues and he's not always knowing what's going on and not always seeing reality properly. And when Andrew thought about the difficulties the other guy was dealing with because of his mental issues, then compassion arose. And it says that's really when the anger was done. That first step is very important to stop, but it can be a problem to stop with just that first step. We might think, well, this guy's a jerk, but I can just get away and I don't have to respond that way. Where this second step is turning the mind and seeing that this person is suffering, and then you're not just stuffing the anger and repressing it. Then you're dealing with getting rid of the anger, turning your heart, turning your mind towards a different way of seeing the person and the situation. And I think about different situations where we might have a difficult time and we try to not go into an unhappy mind about it. That's where I'm trying to relate a lot of things to what we've been learning on Thursday about transforming problems into happiness. And one example would be, say I'm driving home from Newport and I'm trying to get back in time for a puja, and I got a cell phone with me and I get a flat tire. So I pull over somewhere suitable and I call the Abbey and say, is there some, but everybody's already getting ready for the puja, so nobody's answering the phone. So then I get the spare tire out. So maybe I can change this situation. I can put the spare tire on. It's not like there's nothing I can do. But there could be situations where there's nothing you can do. I can get the spare tire out and find out it's flat too. So now I have to walk. And here I don't necessarily have a way to change the external situation except by walking back and getting vehicle and dealing with the whole situation. But I still have to walk. And so if it's a nice day, I can say, well, I can recite some mantra along the way and just have a nice walk. If it's raining and it's cold and it's miserable and it's going to be an unpleasant walk, I can say, well, here's a situation for me to have fortitude in an unpleasant situation and to just not let my mind go bad with it. Because basically, if I let my mind go into the affliction, the whole situation is going to be really bad. But if I can stop that and see that's about to happen, then I can possibly turn my mind in a way where I have more acceptance of the situation and I don't have a bad day. So I have a walk instead of a puja. This can be different with interpersonal situation. If you have a confrontation with somebody, maybe somebody's doing something I don't like, or they're talking to me in a way that I don't like, and a strong emotion comes up. I can restrain that, go to the first step of self-restraint, but I also need to go to that step of turning the mind, not just thinking negatively about the person, but I'm not going to react and try to hold higher ground or something, but really turning the mind towards compassion but not thinking that I can necessarily change the other person. If I react in a kind and calm way, it may change the situation. But I don't need to count on that, and that doesn't need to be my focus. My focus is to be kind and to not be overrun by the affliction. If I think, oh, I can act in a way that will change the other person's behavior, that's getting onto not very good ground, I think. Like the inmate Andrew, he may still have his cellmate come back to the cell some days and try to pick a fight. His being kind to him is not necessarily going to change the guy's mental difficulties. And so it's easy, like the questions we had on Sunday, to bring up a situation where we restrained our mind and think about what we did that allowed us to do to be able to turn our mind. And it's easy in that situation to start thinking about what triggered us and focus too much on it. Think about, and really we want to be working, the real thing there is to work with my own mind so that I'm not not putting more negativity into the situation and not being overrun by the afflictions, but also really not trying to change the other person. That's a route to be disappointed. We do affect other people, but it might not affect them very much in the moment. I've been affected by things people said to me years ago that I really didn't get for years. So I've been thinking also a lot about this part of compassion for turning the mind and the importance of it, not only in our interpersonal situations, but how the mind training techniques, they're bodhisattva training. And for us bodhisattva wannabes, they're they work better if you have a lot of compassion in your mind for yourself too. You know, if you have compassion, can soften the mind. Um, with the SAFE program, I've had a lot of people in the past talk about how they were very hard in ways that were very hard on themselves. And I think if we're hard on ourselves, we're going to be hard on other people too. And compassion can be a habit that doesn't matter about the object. If we can develop, that's the kind of compassion we want to develop. Whoever we come in contact with, having a concern for that person, seeing them as, well, from the Mahayana point of view, seeing them as having been our mother, having benefited us, and wanting to be happy just like we want to be happy. And if we are practicing that and also practicing being kind to ourselves, whether we're confronted with another person that's having a hard time, or in whatever way we're being overrun by an affliction, we can act in ways that will lessen the suffering. If I get all upset because the tire's flat and I'm yelling at the phone, somebody pick up the phone, you know, it's going to be a bad day. And that's by just saying, how can I deal with this in the best way that's going to come out the best? That's compassion for myself. And when we deal with someone else who may or may not be under the power, under an affliction, you know, if we try to deal gently with them, we're practicing compassion, whether they respond or not. And that's where, as Rinpoche says in the book, Transforming Problems into Happiness, everywhere there's opportunities for practicing mind training. Everything is an opportunity. So it really is how we come at it. So let us do our best to practice, you know. And we all have, we learn these things and then we have to practice them to really learn them. So may we progress in this practice for the benefit of all.